What up, fam? I'm on the B side of a weekday morning walk. And since aliens are trending, all of a sudden people want to talk about US government has, I don't know, I forget what's the new term, UAP. I still got to do UFO. I can't get my head around this whole UAP or whatever the heck it is, man. They have found these crafts. They said they've had them for a while. They have biologics, whatever that means, right? The other thing is, for those of us who are 80s babies, even some 70s babies, okay? I'm an 80s baby. A lot of us grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries, which always had something about aliens and UFOs. So I don't know about you, but I grew up terrified of the upcoming extraterrestrial apocalypse and have had nightmares and reoccurring dreams and basically action movies as dreams where I'm fighting and trying to save myself, my family, black folks, the world from aliens. Still have some of those dreams. I'm 40 years old. That's how much Unsolved Mysteries messed me up as a kid. Y'all don't know what us 80s babies, what we've been doing. We've been out here wild for a long time. So the other thing, thinking about aliens, there's a really good story. It's a short story. It's called The Space Traders. It was written by Derrick Bell. Derrick Bell is the, you could say the grandfather, the original parent of critical race theory. Kind of evolved from him, right? He was the first black person, black man to be faculty at Harvard Law. And instead of writing a bunch of heavy theory, he wrote a lot in folk tales, right? Trying to explain sociological theories, socio-political theories, critical theories, which we now call some of those, from a folktale perspective. My favorite story of his exists in two places. It exists as the last story in my favorite book of his called Faces at the Bottom of the Well. And it's also featured in this collection of black sci-fi stories and essays about why black folks should write sci-fi, called Dark Matter. I got the first edition of that book. I think it was made in the late 90s or something like that, maybe the 2000s, but it's a cool book. So anyway, Space Traders. Here's the general premise, all right? It's a short story, it's like 11 pages. Aliens come to Earth, right? And they come to Earth in a big way, but they specifically come to the US. And they say to the leaders of the US, they like, I don't know, they hijack the airwaves or something like that. And they say, look, we will give you a magic chemical that will clean all your water and all your air, and you won't have to worry about pollution ever again. In addition to that, we're gonna give you a clean, renewable, and free energy source that'll power the entire world for as long as you need. And then we're gonna give you all this gold so you'll never have to worry about money. Now keep in mind it was the 90s, so people cared about gold a lot more, right? But anyway, so they're gonna give health, energy, and money to the US. And the people say, oh, that's great. And the aliens say, we just want one thing in return. We want all your black people. What happens? I love the premise of this story. It is a great point of discussion because you get to see a lot of different perspectives. And one of the focal characters in the story, I feel, is supposed to be like, kind of like a Thomas Sowell, Clarence Thomas type figure, but especially a Thomas Sowell figure. If you don't know who Thomas Sowell is, he's like a, he's at the vanguard of black intellectual thought within conservatism, right? Now, he's not like a current era conservative where he's up here talking about Trump. I haven't read any of his stuff in a long time. Back in my adolescence, my early 20s, when I thought I was fiscally conservative because I was drinking the Kool-Aid, right? I read some of his work, Basic Economics, Black Rednecks, White Liberals, Vision of the Anointed. These are all titles of books that he's written, right? And the arguments seem interesting on the surface, but when you dive into them, they're really just written from a perspective of white gaze, and they manipulate a lot of data and twist around a lot of historical narratives that just don't become accurate. The point is, that story has that character. And that character is struggling with, do I protect my people? Or do I side with this ideology that I've been lionizing for my adulthood, for the entirety of my adulthood? Read that story. Think about that story. It also reminds me about a time when I was in this group. It was called Racial Harmony in Crisis. It was after Trump election. I mean, it was cool. It was good. I met some friends out of it. Honestly, that group felt like white guilt for voting for Trump, but there was some real good that came out of it. One of the things that happened in that group, we had a discussion about the Black Panther movie, the first one, because that's when it came out. We said, what if Wakanda was real? And all the white folks were like, oh my God, it'd be amazing, blah, 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 it'd be this, oh, it'd be so good, oh, we'd be so happy. All the black folks were like, oh man, it'd be awful. And they were like, why? We were like, because the US would be trying to destroy it off the face of the map, right? They would be trying to blow it off the planet. Can't have these black people out here running wild with all this power. So anyway, if our alien masters now hear this, hey, black people's on your side, man. Help us out. All right, y'all. Keep walking.